Good morning, dear students. After the summer break, once again, I welcome you all to the regional level online classes being conducted under the guidance of RO Jabalpur. I am Divya Sharma, TGT English, and today I have brought to you a topic from the grammar section. Our today's topic is modal verbs. And children, before beginning with our today's topic, let us once recall the types of verbs that we have studied till now. As you can remember, children, that there are basically two types of verbs, main verbs and auxiliary verbs. Main verbs are those which denote the nature of the action. For example, eat, play, write, jump, laugh, teach, all these action words which denote what the subject is doing. Okay, the nature of the action being done by the subject. These are your main verbs. And then we have auxiliary verbs. Auxiliary verbs are also known as helping verbs. Those verbs which express the time or the manner of the action denoted by the main verb. For example, is, am, are, was, were. So these helping verbs or auxiliary verbs will help you to find out at what time the action has taken place, whether it's present tense, past tense, or future tense. Okay, so these are your auxiliary verbs. To explain that classification further, here on your screens, children, you can see a flow chart in which the classification of verbs is given. So broadly, the verbs are classified as main verbs and auxiliaries. Okay. In main verbs, you can include all those verbs, all those action words which denote what the subject is doing, which express the nature of action that is being done by the or performed by the subject. So here all your verbs like eat, play, write, go, think, touch, etc. That is all your principal verbs which have their own meaning independently. Okay, these come under the category of main verbs. And the other classification is auxiliaries. Auxiliaries are your helping verbs, which are further classified into primary auxiliaries and modals. Primary auxiliaries include to be, to do, and to have verbs. And these three verbs have their further forms. For example, to be is used in present tenses in the form of am, is, and are. And in past tenses, it is used in the forms was and were. Basically, to be verb and its various forms are used in continuous tenses. Okay? To do verb is used in simple or indefinite tenses. Do and does in simple or indefinite present tense and did in past indefinite tense. To have, the third category of primary auxiliaries, has further three forms: has, have, and had. These three forms are basically used in your perfect tenses. Okay? And the second category of auxiliary verbs is modals, which include shall, will, should, would, may, might, etc. So today we are going to read about the second category of auxiliary verbs, that is modal verbs. Okay, children? So let's start our lesson for today. So first let us see what are modals. Modals or modal verbs, also known as modal auxiliaries, are the auxiliary verbs that express the mode or manner of the action denoted by the main verb. Now children, if you remember, that in the slide where types of verbs were given, it was written that auxiliary verbs are those verbs which express the time or manner of the action denoted by the main verb. Okay, auxiliary verbs denote two things. One is the time of the action and the second is the manner of the action. Action means the main verb. Okay, auxiliary verbs tell you when the action took place and how the action took place, in what manner it took place. So, the primary auxiliary verbs, they tell you the time of the action, and the modals, they tell you the manner of that action. Because they tell you the manner or the mode of the action, they are known as modal verbs. Okay? And what is this mode or manner? You'll know when you read the features of modals that we are going to now look into. And dear children, these are the features of modal verbs that you can see in front of you now. These features on one hand will help you understand modals better, and on the other hand they'll help you to use them correctly. Okay, so the first feature says that the modals express certainty, possibility, willingness, obligation, necessity, ability, etc. This means that modal verbs help to indicate the modality of the statement, that is the likelihood of the statement, whether the statement is a request, whether the statement is a suggestion, it's an order, it's an advice, or whether it is an obligation. So, modals help us to identify this. Then, second feature is the modals are used as they are. That is, they never change their form like other verbs. This means that modals do not change their form like the principal verbs or the primary auxiliaries due to the number or the person of the subject. For example, in the sentences, she will play football, I will play football. Will modal is used. She is third person and I is first person. With both the persons, we will use will only. Okay? But if we are using only the principal verb play, then with she, that is the third person, we will use play plus s, plays. She plays football. And with the first person I, will use only the base form of the main verb. I play football. But in case of modal verb, with the third person, we will not put an s with the modal. She wills play football will be absolutely wrong. So this is what is meant by the feature that modals are used as they are, that they do not change their form like the other verbs, that is the principal verbs and even the primary auxiliary verbs according to the person of the subject or the number of the subject. Okay. Third feature is they are always followed by a bare infinitive. Bare infinitive means with the first form of verb we will not use to after the modal verb. We can go is correct, but we can to go is absolutely wrong. We will use the base form of verb, the first form of verb after the modal verb, the first form of the principal or main verb. And before that first form, we will not write to. That would be incorrect way. Okay. The next important feature of modal verbs is related to the negative form of the modal verbs. While writing a negative sentence using modals, we need to keep in mind that we should write not after modals. And we should not use don't, doesn't, isn't, aren't, wasn't, weren't, won't, etc. except in the case of have to. For example, Pratik should not lie is the correct negative sentence using the modal verb should. And with other modal verbs also, we'll follow the same pattern. Like we can write Pratik will not lie, or Pratik might not lie, or Pratik uh, could not lie, something like this. So in case of the modal verbs except have to, we write not after the modal verb. Writing don't, isn't, aren't, wasn't would be wrong. Like in this sentence, Pratik should don't lie. It is not a correct sentence. Pratik don't should lie. Pratik was not should lie. All these would be wrong. You should write only not immediately after the modal verb. Only then the negative sentence of modal verb would be correct. The exception about have to is that in case of the modal verb have to, we may use does not or do not or did not depending upon the tense in which we are writing. If we are writing a negative sentence using have to in the present tense, we'll write does not have. Pratik does not have to buy a phone. And if we are writing it in past tense, we can write uh, they did not have to buy a phone. Or in case of present tense, they is plural third person, so we'll use do not. They do not have to buy a phone. In future, it will become will not. She will not have to file a complaint. So only there is an exception in the case of modal have to. Otherwise, this particular feature you need to keep in mind to avoid making mistakes while writing negative sentences using the modal verbs. Okay, children, these were the features of modal verbs that we just studied. Let's move further now. And dear children, these are the modal verbs that we are going to study in today's class, that you can see on your screens in bubbles. These are can, might, need, shall, used to, ought to, should, may, would, dare, must, will, could, and have to. So we are going to study about these modal verbs today. And let's begin with the first modal, can. Can means be able to or know how to. That means can is used to tell your ability or capability in doing something. Can is used to express ability. I can draw very well. This means that this sentence shows your ability to draw, your ability to draw well. So when you want to convey that you are able to do something, you can use the modal can. I can cook Chinese cuisines, or I can speak French, or Pratibha can swim. Okay, so these are some of the examples where can is being used to denote ability of a person. Second thing is that can be used to grant or seek permission. Can I take your book? You are seeking permission. You can come tomorrow. You are granting permission. You are giving permission to somebody to come the next day. Usually, it's not considered right by most of the people to use can to seek permission, but you can use it in a less formal way or in an informal way. Formally, we avoid using can. We use other modal verbs that we'll come across later. Then, can be used to express possibility of anything happening. Anything can happen in future. Can happen. So this sentence shows there is a possibility of anything taking place in future. So these are few modalities that the modal verb can is used to denote. Okay, children. Next, students, is could. Could is the past tense of can and is used to denote firstly a polite request. Examples could be, could I use your phone? Could I borrow your book? could I help you, etc. Then it can be used to show ability. In the past tense, I could solve all the sums correctly. I could drive the car on my own, etc. Then could is used to show probability, that is, possibility of something. In the past tense, remember, if I had studied, I could have passed. In this sentence, there is a condition that in the past, if the person had studied, he or she could have passed. Then, could can be used to grant permission as well. Her mother said that she could go to the party. So, here you can see this sentence is an indirect sentence. In narration, we study direct and indirect sentences. So, this is an indirect sentence. Her mother said that she could go to the party. In the direct sentence, it would be her mother said, comma, inverted commas, she can go to the party. While writing indirect sentences, we use the past tense of the modal verb. Okay. So, if you observe carefully, bache, more or less, can and could are used for the same modalities, same conditions, only the tense varies. The next modal verb is may. May is used to seek or grant permission. Whenever you want to enter your classroom, usually you ask your teacher, may I come in, sir, or may I come in, ma'am? And in reply, you may get the answer, yes, you may. Okay. May is also used to express possibility. The schools may reopen in August. It is a possibility. We are not sure. We don't know whether it's going to happen or not, but we can show that it is a possibility through the use of may. To express a prayer or a wish. When you wish someone or when you pray for somebody, you use the modal may. May you all be healthy and happy. May you live long. May God bless you. Okay. Then may is used to express a purpose. You should pay attention so that you may understand. Why you need to pay attention? The purpose is to understand. So, may is used to denote the purpose here. You should work hard so that you may get good marks. What is the purpose? The purpose is to get good marks. And for that, what you need to do is you need to work hard, you need to study well. So, these are the uses of may. The past tense of may is might. Might is used to express a doubtful possibility. That means when you feel that there are very bleak chances, very low chances of something happening, then it is better to use might. Because can also denotes possibility, may also denotes possibility, and might also does it. So, how to differentiate? Might will be used when there is doubtful possibility, when there is very less possibility of something happening. It might rain today. When the sky is clear and there are very few signs of pending rain, then you can say it might rain today. And if there are clouds across the sky and there are more chances, then it's better to use may. Okay, it may rain today. Then might is also used to express speculations about the past. She might have passed the test. So, some girl attempted a test and she didn't pass, and now in the present, we are speculating that probably she might have passed the test. Okay. And might is used in conditional sentences as well. If we had left early, we might have not missed the train. So, the condition was to have left early. Or another example could be, if I don't have any other work, I might join you. So, in such sentences also, you can use might. Might can also be used to seek permission in some cases. Might I use your pen? Might I sit with you? Okay. So, these are some of the uses of the modal might. The next modal verb is shall. Shall is used to express the future when the subject is I or we. I shall be 26 next month. It's a simple statement about future that next month somebody is going to have his or her birthday and they are going to turn 26-year-old. So it's a general statement. But when shall is used with second or third person, it may express a command, a threat, a compulsion, a promise, etc. You shall be punished if you talk. It's a kind of threat. My son shall have the best education. It shows determination. The officers shall report in time. This could be an example of command. Okay? Then shall can be used to express a proposal. Shall we go for a walk? Shall we play a match of cricket? Shall we learn our new lesson? Etc. These are the examples where shall has been used to express a proposal. Next is the past form of shall, which is should. Should is used to describe a duty, an advice, or a sensible action. That means something that is the best course of action to be fulfilled in a particular situation. You should take a balanced diet. It's an advice that if you want to be healthy, then you should take balanced diet. You should complete all the formalities without delay. This is, of course, a sensible action. Then, should is used to denote a probable or possible condition. Look at the example. Should you be late, inform me. Here, should you be late means in case you are late. If you are late, then inform me. Okay? If there is a probability of your being late, if there's a possibility of your being late, then you should inform me. An unfulfilled expectation. You should have consulted a doctor. That means the person to whom this thing is being spoken to has not consulted a doctor and he or she should have done so. So, should have is used to denote an unfulfilled expectation by somebody. The next modal is must. Must is used to express duty, obligation, compulsion, or an emphatic advice, etc. You must do your work sincerely. So it's your duty or obligation to do your work sincerely. Rajiv must not miss his classes. It's compulsory for him to attend his classes, so he should not miss his classes. Then to express a logical necessity. Dark clouds are gathering, you must take your umbrella with you. It means it is logical to carry your umbrella if there are dark clouds in the sky. So, to express a logical necessity, we use must. Then, must is also used to show an inference about some past action. That means if we draw some conclusion about some past action, then we use must. Like Ashoka must have been a popular ruler. Now children, when Ashoka was a ruler, we were not there, of course. So we are just drawing an inference after reading about him that he must have been a popular ruler. She is late, she must have missed her bus. So somebody has arrived late, so we are drawing an inference that earlier she must have missed her bus. That is why she is late. Then we can use must to express a possibility. Sonika must have reached home by now. Sonika has left for her home, and if we want to say that it is a possibility that she must have reached home by this time, then we use must. This dress must be very expensive. We are not sure whether the dress is expensive or not. We are just expressing a possibility through the use of must. Now let's see how we use the modal will. Will, children, is used with second and third person to express simple future. They will go to Mumbai tomorrow. A simple statement about future. And with the first person, will is used to express determination, promise, order, threat, or intention, etc. So you can see that will and shall are used in contradiction to each other. Will is used to express simple future with second and third person, and shall is used to express simple future with the first person. Okay. Will is used to express determination, promise, order, threat, or intention with the first person, while shall is used to express these modalities with second and third person. So this is the difference between the two. So let's see the examples of the second feature of will. I will not give up. It's determination. I will punish you if you cheat. A threat. I will help you in your work. This is an offer. Okay. Then will is used to express an invitation or request. Will you please open the window? Shows a request. Will you have some more juice? It's a kind of invitation or offer to have more juice. Then we can use will to express an assumption. Rahul will be in school by now. So it's an assumption. We are not sure, but we are just assuming that Rahul will be in school by this time. To make a prediction also, we use will. If you don't study, you will fail. So in this conditional sentence, we are making a prediction that if one thing doesn't happen, the other will happen. If you are not careful, you'll fall. So this is also an example of a sentence where will has been used to make a prediction. So these were the conditions that will modal is used to express. The past tense of will is would, and would is used to denote the following things. First is a habitual activity of the past. That is some activity, some action which a person was habitual of doing in the past. Sonam would go for long walks during her visit to Kasauli. So when Sonam used to visit Kasauli, she would go for long walks. It was her habit, it was her routine activity to do so. Would is used to make a suggestion or a polite request. Would you mind bringing me some water? Or would you come with me to the park? So the first sentence is a request and the other sentence is a suggestion. Would is a more polite option to make a request or suggestion than other modals. An unreal or imagined condition can also be expressed with the help of would. If I had gone to the party, I would have met Rishi. So the speaker has not been to the party. He or she is saying this, that if he or she had gone to the party, then what could have happened? He or she could have or would have met Rishi. So here this unreal imagined condition is being told about. Next, would is used to show a preference. I would rather read than sleep. When you prefer one thing over the other, then you use the modal would. I would rather have juice than tea. Here also, preference is being shown. You prefer juice to tea. Okay. To show disapproval about something also, we use would. I wish Shashank would stop smoking. That means you totally disapprove of Shashank's habit of smoking and you really wish that he would stop smoking. To express intention and determination also, would can be used. Priyanka said she would definitely win the race. So this shows Priyanka's determination that she would definitely win the race. So children, these were the situations where you use the modal would. Now children, we will study some marginal modals. Marginal modals are those modals which do not exhibit all the properties of the modal verbs. They have some exceptions. For example, The first is ought to. Ought to is a marginal modal. It is preceded by to. In the features, we studied that modals are followed by bare infinitives. But here is an exception. Ought to is considered as a modal. It is used to express duty and a moral or social binding. Now, sometimes children are confused between the usage of must, should, and ought to. So, children, please don't be confused. Must is used to express duty or obligation or compulsion. Okay? Should is used to express an advice or to express the better course of action in a particular situation. And ought to is used to express a moral or social binding. There is no external pressure in ought to. Internally, you must feel that you are morally or socially bound to do something. Okay? For example, we ought to respect our elders. There is no actual rule about it that you need to respect your elders, but this is your moral obligation to respect your elders. People ought to follow traffic rules. Okay? So, it is the duty of the people. It is the social obligation to follow traffic rules. And now it is legal as well. Elderly parents ought to be taken care of. So, this is an example of a passive sentence. Elderly parents ought to be taken care of. Active sentence would be we need to take care of elderly parents. Okay. Here also it is moral duty of children to take care of their elderly parents. Now look here, children. Here I'll tell you how and where should we use ought not. Ought not contains not in it, but it is not necessary that it is always negative. For example, look at the question, ought not we be truthful? Now here we have written not after ought. But this sentence means that we should be truthful. This does not mean that we should not be truthful. Okay, now look at the second sentence. It will become clearer to you what I am trying to tell you. Hema ought not to have cheated in the examinations. Here also we have used ought not, and here we want to say that Hema should not have cheated in the examinations. I want to tell you that in both the sentences, kids, we have used ought not. But in the first case, the use of ought not conveys should be truthful. And in the second phase, in the second example, ought not conveys should not have cheated. So, please be very careful while using ought not. Okay? Ought not does not necessarily mean should not. Like we just studied in the example. The next marginal modal is need. Need means requirement. And need modal is used as a noun, principal verb and an auxiliary verb. Okay? So it can be used in various forms depending on its usage in the sentence. As a noun, an example of the usage of need would be clean water is a basic need. So here need has been used as a noun. She needs a new car. Here it has been used as a principal verb, because you can see that S has been put after need because it is being used with the third person she. So here it is used as a principal verb. As an auxiliary verb, we use need as it has been used in the following sentences, which you can see on your screens. Need I come again? That means, is there any requirement for me to come again? She need not give me any check. So we have used not after need for making a negative sentence. Earlier we read the interrogative sentence of need. You need pay only $20. Here also need has been used as an auxiliary verb. So need can be used in different forms depending upon the form in which it is being used, depending upon the requirement of using it. So sometimes you will come across as a need being used in noun form, sometimes in a sentence as a principal verb, and sometimes as an auxiliary verb. The next modal is used to. Used to is also a marginal modal because to is used in it. Used to indicates some constant or frequent practice in the past. Okay, so it is found only in the past tense. Examples are he used to live here. He does not live here any longer, but in the past he used to live here. Anjali used to play football in school. This sentence conveys that when Anjali was in school, she used to play football. In ancient times, people used to travel on foot. Again, a frequent practice of the past is being conveyed here. And children, if you notice that the actions that are used to denote used to are those actions which happened in some time in the past and now they do not happen anymore. This is what the use of used to modal conveys. So what you need to keep in mind is used to is used for past events and those events which are not happening anymore in the present. They were a thing of the past and they are not happening now anymore. Okay? And children, one more interesting and important thing I would like to share with you. If you are used to doing something, it means you are familiar with it. Okay? Please don't be confused. Just look at the examples, it will help you understand. I am used to working late hours. Here, used to means you are familiar, you are comfortable with working late hours. If the sentence would have been, I used to work late hours, then it would mean in the past you used to work till late and now you are not working till late. Look at the other sentence also. We are used to wearing face masks nowadays. Now we have become habitual. We have become familiar with wearing face masks in our daily routine. So here used to doing something. You are familiar with doing something. You are comfortable or you are habitual of doing something in the present. And as a modal, used to is used to show some action which you were habitual of doing or some other person was habitual of doing in the past. Okay, so please don't get confused between the two uses of this phrase used to. The next in line is dare. Dare means to have the courage to do something. As a modal verb, it is used with a bare infinitive. How dare Vishal do this? Means how Vishal had the courage to do this. I dare not touch a snake. Means I do not have the courage to touch a snake. You dare not lie to me. It's a threat basically to a person that you dare not lie to me. So here we have used dare as a modal verb because we are using it with a bare infinitive. That is the first form of verb without to. In the first sentence, we have not written to do this. How dare Vishal to do this? That is wrong. I dare not to touch the snake. That is also not correct. You dare not to lie to me. To is not needed here. Then, as a main verb, it may or may not be followed by a bare infinitive. She dared to climb that peak. Here we have used dare as a principal verb because we have used the past form of dare here, and we have used to before climb. Next is nobody dares to disobey Mr. Gupta. Again, dares we have used, to we have used in front of the verb disobey. So in these examples, dare has been used as the main verb and not as the modal verb. Have to is our next marginal modal verb. Have to, like must, expresses obligation in the present and future tense. It is used with first and second persons and third person plural. Look at the examples. We have to attend the function. We are obliged to attend it. Do you have to leave today? Is it necessary for you to leave today? I will have to call Mr. Sharma. They have to visit the office. It is their obligation, it is their duty, they have been told by their seniors to visit the office or something. So here we have used have to show that it is very necessary, it is somebody's obligation to do some action. And children, with third person singular, we use has to in the present tense. Example, she has to submit her application. Prabal has to bake a cake for his mother's birthday. Here you can see that earlier I told you in the features that modal verbs do not change their form according to the person of the subject. But here there is an exception, and this is why we call these modals that we have just studied after ought to, we call them semi-modals, or we also call them marginal modal verbs. Okay. Next, the past tense of have to is had to. She had to borrow money. I had to take leave yesterday. They had to hire a cab. So here also it is conveying the necessity of something, but in the past tense. Okay, children? Now please don't be confused between have to and to have. To have is a primary auxiliary verb and have to is a modal auxiliary verb. Please be very careful about it. Don't get confused between the two. Have to as a unit is a modal verb. Okay. The negative form of have to we already studied in the feature as well, that while writing the negative form of have to, we do not write only not. We write do not, did not and will not before have to in present, past and future tense respectively. Example, she does not have to come today, present tense. I do not have to go there, again present tense. She will not have to pay anything, future tense. And past tense could be I did not have to attend the party. Okay, so these are the things that you have to keep in mind while using the modal verb have to in your conversations or in the exercises that you have to solve. With this, children, we have gone through the different modal verbs that we had chosen for today's class, and I hope you understand the different conditions in which these modal verbs are used with the help of the examples that I have given to you. And you also need to understand that some of the modals can be used to express the same condition. Okay, but it depends somewhere upon the condition, somewhere upon the degree of that condition, somewhere upon the intensity of that condition, that which modal you have to choose over the other. And before winding up today's class, please once again go through the features of modals, which is very important for you to keep in mind, so that you do not commit mistakes while using modal verbs. So in front of you on the screens, you can see the features once again. Please go through them, children, and keep them in mind. And I always say this, that practice makes a man perfect, and the more you practice, the clearer the concept becomes to you. So, children, I have brought to you some exercises, some fill in the blanks, so that you can practice what you have learned today. So, kindly go through them and try to solve them. Take the help of the video that you have just seen. If you have any doubt, or you can take the help of your respective English teachers, and you can get your solutions checked by them, and you can get their feedback also. So in the next few slides you will find those questions. I'm not going to read them out for you. I'll just give you some time so that you can go through them. You can pause the screen and take a screenshot, and then you can solve them. Okay, children? So here are those questions. The first exercise is fill in the blanks with should or would, may or might, can or could or ought. And these are the questions. The next question requires you to fill in the blank with shall or will. And this is the last question. Here you have been given two options in brackets. Against each fill up, you have to select the appropriate modal as per the question. So children, today we studied modal verbs, and after this class, you can say that modal verbs are special verbs that behave very differently from other verbs, that is the principal verbs and the auxiliary verbs. They give additional information about the function of the main verb that follow them. They have a great variety of communicative functions because they indicate whether the statement expresses certainty, possibility, willingness, obligation, necessity, ability, request, and suggestions, etc. So, children, this was all about modal verbs in today's class. I hope you understood the topic, and I hope that you will solve the exercises that are given in this video. So, on this note, I take your leave, children. Thank you and take care.